I say I'm a pharmacist. I see thousands of profiles of people on medication. Do you realize, and I'm not even getting into the psychological. Let me tell about the physical. It just never ends. They always start on the oral hypoglycemic medications, and then before you know it, always goes to the injection with the insulins and all these things you see, on TV and how glorious it is and how it'd be life-changing. And then they say even these medications will cause you to lose weight. But you want to know something? A lot of them are, in a way, they're poisoning the body, and that's how you lose the weight. Look, I want to say this and be right up front right now. I'm not saying that if you need some medications, they're not important, you shouldn't take them. But be aware that the lifestyle change will just immensely, in my case, I told you, see the medications behind me, all these medications. I was on all of them. I'm on 0 now. I'll keep on saying because I know some people came in late. 0 medications. Okay? My lab values, everything was perfect. I went to the doctor last time. He left me a voicemail. I accidentally got erased. I want to keep it just as he said, Mr. Rothman, your everything is fine, it's great and everything. He said, don't even bother coming in. So here it is. I was sick, had all those major diseases. I'll say it again, the blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. They wanted to put a stent in my heart. I mean, now it's perfect. This is years ago. And I'm here, I'm 70 years old. I'm here to tell you the good news that, the good news, as they say, is that we have a way out of this mess. If you come to these meetings, we talk about that perception change. Again, I talked about the billion-dollar diet industry. They can't help you. They're sending you little portions of food that has all the poison in it. So you're going to starve some more. Hey, look, you could do that for a year, a month, be miserable. But eventually you're going to go back. And the way we know is, and everybody knows here, 95% of it is true. So if you come to these meetings, we have what's called a mind-altering, a new design for living, way of living, which is totally different, which you'll have an understanding and comprehension of. And it'll be that shift in thinking where we look at, I'll just touch upon it because I really wanted to talk about all this stuff with the food, this other stuff. But here, the clarity with the water. This alone, change your perception towards food, having this rather than those big gloopy drinks that have 1,500, calories in them, crazy stuff like that. I got here an orange. This is from God. Can you imagine that? Look at this. Look at this. This isn't synthetic. This is made in nature. It has all the fiber and the natural health, and people get healthy. Vitamin C, right? And an apple a day. Look, all of these fables. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Popeye, right? With the spinach. The greens. Do you realize greens have 1,000 different vitamins and micronutrients in them? When you buy a vitamin store, it has a few vitamins, all synthetic. All these foods have healthy things, and our body knows what to do with them. But when we put too much food in our body, and especially in a lot of countries, all the protein, right? Some countries, they put a little bit in the food and they have other grains from the ground and all this healthy stuff. But we take it upon ourselves to eat all of this protein and has hormones in it. Again, the poisons aren't only in the food in the supermarket. They put the poisons in when they feed the animals. They have to feed them the hormones to make them grow bigger, better. Then you have all the milk industry, the cheese industry, and what they do to the foods. Look, this is the thing here. We were meant to eat a certain way and be healthy and be a certain way. But again, we're victims. We're victims. When you realize you're a victim, do you want to be a victim and a slave? Is that what you want to be? Do you want to be a slave to these corporations and what they're putting on and what they're doing? So there is a way out. And I was telling you, we do have these meetings here where we talk about it. It has to be that shift where you see food differently. But I want to say, to keep it on a different plane here, that you do have that detox period where you were brainwashed and the food's a part of your body, part of, the endorphins in your body and the dopamine. Hey, look, it's like heroin. These drugs come in and they play with the chemicals in your body. So then when someone tries to get off heroin or cocaine or drugs or alcohol, the body can't handle it because the whole chemistry is upset. The whole chemistry in our bodies is upset now. It's upset, but we can detox. We can get over that period, start eating healthy. And on these meetings, we talk about that design for living. Look, this whole thing, and there's only one way out. It's that perception change. Because if you try to resist it, which diets do, and you resist it your whole life, you're going to end up, it's not going to work. And, the other thing, too, is when people get down, look, here's another problem with dieting. With that, they don't work. Suppose you get down to your goal weight and you're walking around and you struggle for a year and you've been miserable every day, and then all of a sudden you walk around and you say, well, okay, I feel like I'm at the weight I should be. It's not so great. It's like winning a lottery. You feel happy for a little while and then you're not happy. So unless you have the perception change where, healthy foods, where you have a plate full of healthy food, healthy grains, healthy stuff, and not all this oil, sugar, and salt on it. When that happens, the perception changes there, and you start to see things in life differently. It all turns around in your life, and then you look at it differently. You don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to fight it anymore. That's the only answer. Otherwise, 95% of it fails, and the other 5% people who succeed in dieting, quote, dieting, the way the billion-dollar industry that you pay thousands of dollars portray it is, they're miserable anyway. So they might as well go out and eat. They're so miserable. I gotta say, look, we have a better way here. I got here papers and papers and pages of stuff on the internet, but I'm distilling it down to one thing here. We're being brainwashed. We could change our perception, our thinking towards food. A lot of medications, too, they give me because my thinking was off. I was depressed. I was angry. But the perception changed when I work this program and I see life differently. Again, I'm so happy. I don't want to. Look, if you were to give me some kind of medication that said, okay, it's going to make me feel good, it's not going to make me feel good because it's nothing as good as a natural high. Do you follow that? I needed drugs. I needed the alcohol because I was so miserable. And we go into reasons why we're miserable. We expect life to be a certain way, and it doesn't meet our expectations. So if you come to these meetings, you'll have that, what we call a spiritual awakening. But the whole thing is this. My mind and my thinking was so off, and my perception towards food, towards life, that those things seem good, the extra food. We talk about, being gluttonous. That's the food, or lust, or all these things in our life, But basically, I'm just sticking with the real addiction here to the food, and understanding that once we get this. So if I see, look, when I go to supermarket, even there's some what they call healthy places, that these supermarkets that they're chains, and they say, well, we have all healthy whole foods here, right? But when you go to this salad bar, it has salt, oil, and sugar in it. Salt, oil, and sugar, all poisons and all the other chemicals, ingredients, preservatives, but it's 3 times the calories. So if I have a plate of grains, say beans and rice, and it's so delicious, or the fruit like I showed, it's not processed. It's all natural. Even juice, when you juice something, it becomes processed. Sugar is from a natural plant, but when you process it by taking the sugar out, it's tremendous amount of calories. And also it has to do with not only the sugar, but the oils when they take them out of foods, the same way. The oils that do the same thing. The oil is concentrated. A tablespoon of oil will have 150 calories in it. So here it is. It's all processed food. And that's where the problem is. So the whole thing is this is the biggest epidemic in history, but people don't look at it that way. It's like so accepted because there's money involved. It has to do with big business, big corporations. The government's involved. They subsidize all of these places, and it all has to do with the lobbyists. And so do we want to be free? Or do we want to be going around? Again, it's related in our history to tobacco. When tobacco, what? Well, it's crazy. 50% of the country smoked tobacco. Most of the community in the 50s and early 60s says, oh, it's fine. They go on TV, and it wasn't a problem. That ashtrays in every car, everywhere you'd go. Even medical people went on TV, said it was good for your throat, right? It all had to do with the corporations and money. But this is, how devastating you think that is? This is much worse. This situation is much worse. This is a situation here where more people, do you realize all those major diseases, they're coming around because of the food. When you have high blood pressure, the type 2 diabetes, so all of these things are related to the addiction to the food. So anyway, the whole key is this, that there is a way out, changing that perception, start eating healthy. And once you do that, you wouldn't want all of this. And when you started to, the things that I'm talking about, and again, what we do here is this whole thing with the meetings. I mean, people have been coming here, maybe some people are new here, is that perception change towards, but we also deal with a lot of life situations, because like I said, a lot of the medications I was taking all had to do with the thinking, right? I don't need that anymore. I don't need I don't need the diet corporations. I don't need anything. I have that natural feeling towards the food. Normal, we get to a point of normalcy, right? It changes, it shifts when we have that natural feeling and understanding, not, again, the corporations, the TV, the advertisements, they all brainwashing us into thinking that is because, again, allopathic medicine. So let me just say this. Allopathic medicine has to do with surgery and medications. That's the way the medical community, again, when I went to school for pharmacy, we would taught. Again, the major drug companies were doing they were connected to all the education. But there's also homeopathy and osteopathy. These are fields in understanding where the comprehension is that the body as a whole takes care of itself. Which again, I use that example. If you get a cut, it's miraculous the way it heals, right? Your body can heal itself if we get out of its way. If we just, the bad gasoline we put in our car, again, it is very indicative in a lot of countries around the world now. One other interesting thing, and then we'll go to the shares and quickly say, there are countries around the world where people are eating foods that people say, well, certain carbohydrate food you shouldn't eat that. But they're very thin when you look at them in the culture because they don't have all that additives. It's not so much they say this food or that food, it's the additives that are the problem that they're putting in to get us addicted. So, but a lot of countries now are developing all these diseases since the big food chains come in, all the fast food chains. And it turns out in some of these countries, they had a propensity for heart disease and type 2 diabetes, more so than even here in this country. It's just the way it was genetically. And they're getting it more and more. But when they were eating healthy, they had none of that, even though they had a propensity towards it. It has to do with drugs, alcohol. And people just don't understand this is an addiction. They don't understand, but this addiction is worse than the drugs and alcohol. Like, yeah, a lot of people die from drugs and alcohol. But again, not only that, the lifestyle. When people are addicted to drugs, they may not die, but their lifestyles are miserable. But how miserable is your lifestyle? Do you realize how psychologically it affects your brain? And again, all the medications and drugs, you go from one drug to another, even the psychological ones, right? I'm not telling you not to take medications. They help in a lot of cases, but I'm saying this. I am a pharmacist and I see profiles, thousands of them, and people come in when I work at different places in the hospitals or in the retail communities, and I see they come in and it's from one medication to another, psychologically, physically. The body is so strong. It's strong that it'll overcome them, and you'll feel it. But again, a lot of these things, look, antibiotics, there's a lot of medications. I'm not saying anybody it's not, and that you need them. But in a lot of cases, when the change perception, thinking towards the food, but even when I was on medications, I came in, I was addicted to drugs, alcohol, besides the food, right? So I came in.